Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gamer Dad channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So for the longest time, whenever we discuss weapons, this particular weapon comes up, but there is not necessarily a huge spotlight on the weapon. I don't know if y'all are keeping it a secret. Some of you have spilled the beans, but I have not necessarily gotten one that I really like. The Carbine 7 is this particular assault rifle. In my opinion, this is one of the most slept upon weapons in this game. It's literally the best kept open secret because you get these weapons, they drop for you in different, missions or whatever from time to time, but not a lot of people prioritize them in their builds. Now, I understand the reason why this may be the case, in my opinion, anyways, and I'll share why. Because if you look at the assault rifle class, there are many assault rifles that do a good job. Some of them in base damage, some of them in high RPMs, some of them in accuracy as well, and in all kinds of other things. But there's something about the Carbine 7 that gives it, in my opinion, an edge in many cases. Now, we also have to consider PvP. Usually, some of the builds that work in PvE can be applied in the PvP setting as well. And sometimes, even in raid settings, if you were to be very realistic about the way you can use a damage build across the board. So the FAMAS usually sits on top because of its high RPM. It can deal a lot of damage if it touches the person. If you beam somebody with the FAMAS, an enemy NPC or whatever, they're really going to feel the damage. They're going to be taken out. And then, you also have some other contenders in the assault rifle class, like the AKs, like the FALs. These weapons are high damage weapons. So each bullet is a hammer based on the way it hits in regard to its damage. But the Carbine 7 is not necessarily like that. Now, it does quietly have some kind of a higher RPM in terms of the way it's built and the way it's set up. This is what makes it, in my opinion, somewhat interesting whenever it is that you as the agent are running yours. So the RPM is actually pretty good. The magazine size is also pretty good. It holds 50 rounds based on, the base magazine size and then the extra 20 round magazine. If you can get yourself the sturdy extended 5.56 mag, this is really good. And then its total damage is not necessarily the best. But at the end of the day, where this weapon actually shines is in its range. And so, in my own opinion, I feel like when you get yourself one of these, one of them that has assault rifle damage, health damage, and then its final attributes somewhere along the lines of having critical hit damage will probably do the best for you. Running it with a crit build and then running it with Ranger. Now, this is where you get your bang for buck because Ranger works with distance and amplifies your damage by 2% for every 5 meters you're away from your target. This to me is a fitting talent for this particular weapon in itself. And I'm not just saying this because, I think this is just something that I wanted to just go ahead and highlight. I'm saying this because I've been testing this weapon and it has proven itself to actually be a very, very strong contender regarding like how, you can enjoy a weapon of this kind. And so in this, video clip that you're seeing here, I'm pretty much running this weapon and I'm able to deal damage from a long distance and enjoy very good range. Yeah, I died here and then I had to run and go back and come back to the control point. And the damage I'm dealing is good damage, it's good headshot damage, it's good critical hit damage, and I'm able to just stay far away from enemy NPCs and do the work. In fact, what was actually quite surprising was not only the amount of damage. I mean, you can see how many rounds I put on that enemy NPC with this particular rifle from a distance. It's insane. I mean, I'm critting for anywhere from 500 to 700,000 in terms of damage. I could crit more, I get it, but at the distance is where I'm really enjoying myself because the Ranger talent is doing the work for me. If you notice, like, I can pinpoint and almost, thread a needle with this particular weapon. Like I can hit weak points from a very, very far distance and I can do it with, precision that's just embedded in the weapon, and I can also do it with the confidence that I'm going to deal damage and I'm going to destroy that weak point. It's a sight to behold in the way this particular system works. And like I said, the reason this is not necessarily talked about is because there are other contenders that do suit other playstyles. Now, in the open world heroic encounters, you don't necessarily want to find yourself in a situation where you're dying and you're fast traveling and all of that stuff. So most times, the build paradigms are somewhat different. And so nobody necessarily wants to take, the time to sit in some far distance. Everybody wants to maintain as much safety as they can. Maybe they'll use skill builds, or maybe they'll use a shield, or maybe they'll use some other, strong run and gun builds that work with their own playstyle. But for me, I am one of those people who would love to play it safe and also be able to deal as much damage. So if I'm not using a build like this, I'm probably going to be using, skills in order for me to be able to deal my damage. And I also pair it with an M1A just so I can get the most out of it, in the sense, because sometimes the enemy NPCs, they go way too far. But honestly, it's not really a big deal, because regardless of how far away it is they try to run away, I can still get the best of them from a very long distance. This is Fallen Cranes, folks. This is that little spot on the window where you can pretty much just hide, and you could just start dealing all kinds of damage, or maybe deploying your skills if it's something that you want to do. And so, in my opinion, like I said, this weapon, I rank it in some of the best weapons in this game that suit that ranged playstyle. In fact, if you're running a sniper build, I think this is probably a weapon that would work for you, because it also would assist you in terms of range. But if you're running an assault rifle build, maybe you're running a lot of directives, or maybe you're running, say Overwatch in a raid, this weapon really comes through. In fact, I wish I had some raid footage for you guys, but it was one of the raids we played this evening, and it wasn't really the most successful raid because we just had a lot of, I guess it's just fatigue. It was a second raid of the day for me, probably the fifth for some of the other guys that have been playing. And so, the raid didn't pan out, but nonetheless, the amount of work this weapon was doing in a raid in Iron Horse, because Iron Horse has bigger grounds in many cases, is insane in my opinion. But I want you to go ahead and try it. And for those of you who use this particular weapon, or for those of you who have used it in the past, please share your thoughts in the comment section, because to be very honest, this is crazy how good this weapon is and how much not a lot of people talk about it. It's quite shocking. Or maybe, we've talked about it in the past in the game, and, because the Division is at this point in its life, cycle, it's not necessarily something that will come up as a hot news. But I see a lot of other builds that don't necessarily feature this weapon, and I'm like, perhaps it suits their playstyle, but this right now is sitting at the sweetest spot for me. I'm going to be looking for this particular weapon in different configurations, and I'm more than likely going to go ahead and optimize the one that I currently have right now, because this is just a gift. It's been sitting in my stash for the longest time, and I was like, hey, I'll get back to you at another time. And then I think another thing too, and this is a final thought before I close out this video, is the fact that this particular weapon rolls with a base talent that comes with it. I can't remember the name of the talent. It's a talent that allows for every of your reload or something to be faster after every 3 reloads. I can't remember the name. And probably this is why it's hard to get yourself a good one, because, once you're having to deal with that talent, you also have to worry about the other core attributes that can come with it. So you have to get one that has decent core attributes, and then you can roll the talent off. So in my case, I was able to get this particular one. And so, again, it might be something where you'd have to do some serious grinding or spend a lot of time in the summit having to get, one of these for yourselves. But again, talk to me in the comment section. Like I said, I want to hear your evaluation of this particular weapon. And even if you know any other options that may serve better for this purpose. But I don't know, though. This might be the best in terms of the ranged assault class. But again, I'll talk later. Thank you very much for watching the video. I appreciate you guys' time and audience, and hopefully we'll talk soon. Peace out.